Oh, wait, I have some.
Tonight, guys, we have an owner. Maybe. Or at least a control person. John Seidler voted unanimously to run the Padres. And hey, still looking for a left fielder and maybe a pitcher. Spring training's coming soon. We'll talk about that more and more tonight on Padres Talking Padres. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Padres Talking Padres, your favorite Padres podcast, hosted exclusively by actual fathers. My name is Jay, and with me tonight is Jack and Jerry. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good.
I'm doing well.
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic.
Not according to the pre-recording comments, but
yeah. I feel bad for AJ Preller. He's probably going through withdrawals. I mean, he hasn't made a trade in how long, and he's probably just sitting in the corner going, I gotta make a trade.
Yeah. I guess
what's that Fred Flintstone? Bet.
Well, it's just it's a very interesting time in Padre land, I think, from which like ecosystem of fandom you live in, right? Because if you hang out in Padres Twitter land, the sky has been falling for like 3 straight months.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to have a more balanced approach or more healthy approach to the Padres fandom, and I'm trying not to stay as in the weeds on it, but but yeah, you would think the world has ended, but we still have all of our, at least a lot of our core players, coming back. So
like 7 or 8 all-stars by my count.
Yeah. So we said this last year, and we got Dylan Cease at the last second, and Jackson. I mean, I realized we had some luck our way, but I'm not that stressed out.
Last year we were talking about this last week when you were not available, but at this time last year, our 2 and only outfielders on the roster were Tatis Jr. and Azokar.
Yeah, Azokar. Good Lord, yeah.
So we didn't have anybody at this time last year. We'd made the Soto trade and gotten what we looked at as prospects, because we didn't know King was going to turn out to be what he was, and we didn't know we were getting Dylan Cease. And what's funny to me is, I think the panic is more this year than, like 500,000 times than what it was last year. I don't know what changed. Like all of a sudden, maybe it is the ownership, but Peter Seidler had already passed away.
Is part of it.
But Peter Seidler had already passed away, and so there was always, still questions about whether or not it was going to keep going. But nobody seemed to be panicked about it, and I don't understand the panic this year.
I have a theory.
Okay, what's your
theory? The Dodgers got better, the Giants got better, the Diamondbacks got better.
True.
And the Padres, as of now, are just they're. I still think we're a good team. We can still compete for the playoffs, but we haven't gotten better.
Not yet.
We haven't kept up with the
Joneses
teams. We
just haven't. But I do think I think the ownership thing is a fair thing to be concerned about, right? And I think there's like a collective trauma on San Diego sports fans because we've had nothing but kind of ownership drama, and
had terrible owners,
right? And even recently with the Padres with the Moores divorce thing, and then we were just in no man's land for however many years.
Right.
So I think for the Padres fans have been around a while, like that weighs heavily on it. And then I think it does. Even though he passed away last year, there was this kind of transitionary thing, like, okay, well, it's gonna be settled. Peter wouldn't leave, he seemed to be on top of his thing. He knew he wasn't in the best health. There's no way he didn't have this all figured out and settled. But as it's sad that it happens, but anytime there's a lot of wealth in a family, and even if you have everything teed up, it can still get, ugly and messy. And so unfortunately, that's kind of what's happened. And I think people are just worried because of the collective trauma of the past, that Patrick
and not just baseball.
Football too.
Football, basketball. We've had our share of terrible. Terrible.
And I get that, guys. I guess there's a couple of things to me that we kind of almost need to point out. Number one, the Padre TV deal going
Yes.
bankrupt was not expected.
True.
And, you know, when you're losing $60 million a year of revenue that you were getting before, that changes the course of the way you're going to do things.
That's why you have to go out and get loans.
You know, yeah. The second thing is, I'll say is, who didn't know that Tanner Scott was going to leave? You know, who didn't know that, you know,
Sure.
that some of these players at the end of their because I'm telling you folks listening, King and Cease and whoever else, Suarez, they're going to do the same thing at the end of this year. So I don't know where this expectation, it's pretty much 99%. In fact, I heard somebody say on the radio the other day, it's been since 2013 that a mutual option has actually been used.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just another tool that is out there for ownership to be able to pay somebody what they want, but yet delay it off of the luxury tax so it doesn't hit the books. So I think there's a lot of that. And then, you know, the last one for me is, I keep saying it, Joe Musgrove going down just totally changed not only the playoffs last year, but this entire season. Because you can't tell me that Preller was not expecting Darvish, Musgrove, Cease, King, and I'm sure at that time, Sasaki. That I got to believe that was the plan A. Will be great if we can get that. And unfortunately, Musgrove blowing out and Sasaki choosing another team, you know, now you're left with what you are. And as we all know, starting pitchers, number one, don't come cheap, and number two, don't come cheap.
Well, they asked King at FanFest. Someone asked him, I don't know who it was. They said, "Has the Padres reached out to you about a long-term contract?" He says, "Nope."
Yeah,
and that was it. It was just nope.
And I think, Jerry, you've mentioned this before on the show. Like, I kind of the wariness to sign a pitcher long term. I think, Jack, you said the same thing. I both have said this. And so, like, as much as I love Michael King, Musgrove was the only one that kind of made sense because of the hometown hero thing. And even it's kind of bit us in the butt a little bit that he's not going to pitch at all this year. And it shows you the risk of
$20 million.
$20 million. And then, you know, you Darvish, I like that deal because he just seems like one of those wily vets that will figure out how to pitch for a long time.
He's got 11 or 12 pitches. So,
well, exactly. Like he can hang around and probably pitch into his 40s. And you think about that, it's probably a bit of a discount in retrospect, but you know.
Well, I've go ahead.
Oh, I was saying Michael King is older, so I don't see the giving him an extension for however long, because that just could be another contract that we're kind of saddled with that we don't.
Yeah, I've said before. I said the way the pitchers are blowing out their arms, not just Padres, I mean the whole league. And they were talking about Major League Baseball. They were going through all the pitchers that throw like 99 plus. Who hasn't had arm? They're saying, "Oh, he's had arm problems. He's had arm problems. It's just the velocity of the ball, how hard they're throwing it, is the arm's not made for that." And so that's what they were saying, and it kind of made sense. And I said, I think last year I said I don't think I'd sign a pitcher to more than a 3-year contract. I mean, and I think, Jerry, you said, well, you're not going to get a lot of pitchers.
Then you're not going to get one.
I get that. I get that, but it's like, okay. I want to keep Michael King. I want to keep Dylan Cease, but are we going to pay them, $250 million for 5 years to? Yeah. I mean, we're not the Dodgers. We're not the Yankees. We're not the Mets. We don't have that kind of money. And so I think what's going to. I mean, I would like to see them. We said last week we want to see them start the season with who they have. Yeah. And then see how it goes. If they fall out of it, then you trade Cease. You trade King. You trade. I would trade Suarez now, though.
It also from everything I hear, from everything I hear, Preller has set a very high price tag on all of his players. Because why? Because he doesn't have to. Yeah, that's the one thing that the one thing that the Padres have going for them that doesn't get said enough, I don't think, is they've got the team. They're not desperate. If they have to go sign a David Peralta and put him in left field, if they have to let Capusanto play catcher. If they pick whoever is available for DH, they are still 6 strong in their lineup, and they're still 3 strong in their starting rotation, along with guys like Vasquez. Vasquez made 20 starts last year, guys.
I like Vasquez.
I mean, he made 20 starts, and Waldron had, except for if you take about 3 games, and I know you can do that with a lot of people, you take about 3 games away from him, he was a very serviceable pitcher.
And he just kind of faded toward. I think he just wore out.
Right now, does that make
I heard it was confidence in his knuckleball, which that's a mental thing. Like, hopefully that can be fixed.
Now, does that make the Padres a top 10 organization as far as their pitching? No, but the bullpen is just as strong as it was last year, minus Tanner Scott. But you got guys that can fill that role in a heartbeat. I'm sorry, guys like Kolick and Reynolds and goes on, Estrada. We've got Adam, Hoeing. I mean, this is a very, very strong bullpen. So, again, I think we go back to what the formula was last year. Get 5 innings, and you're good. And every once in a while, maybe a Cease who's good innings or eater. I think King is built up to be more of a 6 or 7. Darvish is usually a 6 or 7. So, I think you've got the formula still there. Now, as a Padre fan and a baseball fan, of course I'd like to be able to do what the Dodgers are doing or the Mets are doing and go out and spend gobs of money to get these guys. But number one, it's too late now because there really isn't anybody out there that you would really say, even on a 3-year deal, Jack, I think you'd agree. There's nobody out there you go, oh, wow, let me go get that guy. No. And when you see guys, Lariano for $5 million, I mean, the price tags on a lot of these guys are just ridiculous. So I don't see us doing that. I think Ornelas is going to be our starting left fielder, to be quite honest. And I think that guys like the Kolick and Reynolds are going to be out there, or Hoeing, and they're going to try and make starters out of them.
Yeah, I know that they've talked about with Kolick. Becoming a starter. We talked about Maury Home. He's staying in the bullpen, which I think is a good.
He is.
I think it's a good call. Yeah.
And they're saying Jake. It's we talked about last week.
Second base.
Yeah. That's the best position.
So who do you put in first, gentlemen?
Well, for right now, Arise.
Yeah, that's where I'm like going. He's his defense is mediocre and he's not tall. Because
he's also said he does not like to DH. I mean, he not as a full time. I think this is the where we have to wait as Padre fans to wait and see, because again, guys like Peralta, Solano, they're still not available yet. That type of level guys. Sure. You got to wait another couple of weeks. A guy on the radio here put the best thing out there, and this is about a week old now. But he says at this time there's 11 openings on 40-man rosters throughout baseball, and there's 70 plus free agents out there still. You know who's got 4 openings? The Padres. Okay, so 4 out of the 11 openings on 40-man rosters are the Padres, and there's 70 guys out there that are looking for a job. It's going to get to desperation time for those guys. They're going to be reaching out to the Padres and say, "Hey, man, I'll play for $1 million with some incentives."
Well, Profar did it last year.
Like, give me that Profar deal.
Solano did it last year.
Yeah. So I think that's where it ends up, short of a trade. Again, a lot of people trying to make a Cease trade, a lot of people trying to make a Suarez trade. Folks, you're not GMs. All right. Yeah, exactly. You don't know who's available and what's ridiculous. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of guys who think they're just like minor league scouts now. It's like, this guy, he would fill in just great. You know what? I'll go with Preller. I think I'll trust Preller.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing, is just like, I feel like there's been seasons where we give Preller a lot of flack, right? But like last season, he proved he knew what he was doing. And I feel like there's a bit of just like, trust Preller. Like, I don't think he's going to not get us, or those holes we have right now, not fill those in some compelling way. And the other X factor here is I go to Mike Schilt, where we have a manager that has instilled a culture that I believe is going to go into season 2, where you're going to get the best out of your players. It's not always about, we've seen what happens when we spend a bunch of money, but if you don't have a good culture, if you don't have good leadership, it doesn't matter how good of a team you have and the players that you have. So like, even for the Dodgers that have, objectively made their team better, we know firsthand you can't just buy your way. And you look at the Yankees. I know Michael's a big Yankee fan. They had their run of like all those World Series, then they got all of this money, and then they started buying a bunch of players. Did they ever win a World Series in that stretch? It took them. They only got one out of that in what 09, I think. So like,
well, money
it's
helps
baseball. Well,
Yeah.
but I'm saying is they you could have said they bought it every single, but they never made it to win the World Series from 19 or 2000 on.
Yeah, I think the injustice to baseball right now has been pointed out. Jason Stark put out an article today. I vehemently disagree with it. Basically saying that baseball's not broken and money, blah blah blah. But my big it is, and my thing is okay. He says, well, it's not causing superpower teams, like he says, look at the NFL, look at the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like what you're still missing is since the 2016 Kansas City Royals, only major market teams have won the World Series.
There's parity.
So it may not be the one. It may not be the one, but where's Pittsburgh? Where's Cincinnati? Where's so Tampa? Where are these small market teams? Well, they're not winning World Series. And
you got to spend money to win. Absolutely.
And I've always said this back, and you alluded to the Yankee days, and this has always been my thing, Jay, because you brought up a good point. The money that you have allows you to make mistakes.
True.
Because for years, you were right. When the Yankees would spend money, and if they made a mistake, they'd just toss it aside, pay them off, and let it go. When the Padres, I know, first started getting into, maybe making a big contract, it's like, if this doesn't work out, we're screwed. Mm-hmm. We're screwed look, we got our Hosmer right now, and Hosmer had a couple of good years with us, and then that contract it finally comes off the books after this year. Yeah. But that's the stuff we're talking about. Those things screw you up big time. Yeah. But unfortunately, I think the Padres have done it wrong. And then I'll let you get in there, Jack. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The Padres have backloaded too many of their contracts. Because if you look at where the damage is really going to take effect, it's in 2 years when Bogarts, Machado, and Tatis will make $100 million between them. Mm-hmm. And that's trying to save money now to spend it later. So.
What people don't realize with the large market teams like the Yankees, the Yankees, I honestly believe they purposely overpaid their players so that the smaller market teams are going, well, we can't keep. So who traded for them? The Yankees. The large market teams trade. That's what hurts baseball. When the Dodgers are going out there and they're signing these players and deferring all this money and doing all this different stuff, not everybody can do that. Yeah, it's like you see Dodger fans going, everybody can do that, and then they bash the Padres for not having any money. The same fans. I go, we tried that. We tried it.
There's the Dodgers. They got lucky. They got the last great cable TV deal, and nobody else is ever going to get $30
million a year. $330 million a year. The next closest is $170 million. But the next closest is $70 million.
They share 30% of it. Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
But I was listening to baseball loudouts today, and there was a Giants fan on there. He says it's great for baseball, and I'm a Giants fan. It's great for baseball. The other guy's like going, well, because they're talking about salary cap. They're just being brought up, and he goes, well, there is a disparity of the money, and this. He goes, well, yeah. He goes, yeah, but what the Dodgers aren't breaking any rules. That's not the point. The point is.
The rules suck. Yeah.
Say the Padres had money and they could spend $350 million. What would the Dodgers do? They'd go out and spend $450 million. We can't keep up with them. That's the problem. And like you said, Jerry, the mistakes. That's what I've always argued. I go, well, if you get that guy, like you said, if it doesn't work out, like I said, right now it's Bogarts. Right? Bogarts right now is that guy where it's like, okay, he has to have a good year this year. Mm-hmm. He has to. It doesn't have to be great. Again, he doesn't have to be like he was in Boston, but he has to.
I think him being back in shortstop, hopefully he's serviceable, and I think his value goes up. I think we've talked about that. Like second base is just not. You don't pay a second baseman $250 million or whatever the hell.
Look, you know what, Jack? I'll agree with you, but I'm going to also put Tatis and Machado into the same category. They all three need to have a healthy year for the first time in quite a while.
Oh yeah,
and again, I'm not pointing fingers like it's their fault for getting hurt or anything, but. That is inherently the problem that the Padres need to rectify. It's and again, it's why I would never own a baseball team. It would drive me nuts because when you go out and make a contract, I don't care which GM you are. If you go out and make a contract with somebody, you're buying the best year they've had. I don't care what anybody says. That agent is going to sell that boat down the river every time. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to pay me for that best year this guy just had. And I think that's a fallacy that is always there, that you're going to have to pay them X amount because of that great year. And it just doesn't usually work out. Every once in a while you get a good deal, but for the most part, you're pretty much overpaying as soon as you start.
Yeah,
because
it's like buying a brand new car. It's like buying a new car that it depreciates the second it leaves the lot.
You brand new car, you drive it off, it becomes Hosmer.
Yeah, exactly. Ages like milk. Mike says, if any fan is siding with the owner in any subject relating to money, they're just not educated on how the business works. Love you though, Hal. I loved Hal Steinbrenner. He did a recent interview, and he threw shade at Soto's family a little bit, and then he threw shade at the Dodgers, saying, we
can't compete with them.
Right. Well, basically, it's like, well, the rest of us owners, we just can't be on that same playing field. And it's like, well, dude, okay, you're the third most valuable franchise in the history of sports. Like, don't cry poor like you're one of the rest of the 29 teams.
I don't feel for any. I don't feel sorry for any owner. I mean, if you've got the money to run these teams, then I'm sorry, you're looking down the wrong place to try to get sympathy.
Normal people.
Meanwhile you're charging $16 for a beer and $38 to sit in a nosebleed seat. So shut up, sit down, and let the fans have their game. Yeah,
exactly.
I did find it interesting though. I kind of relate to that Manfred came out with a statement that said, I'm concerned with the perception of the fans that baseball is broken. He actually came out and said that. And the next words out of his mouth were, well, it's not the Dodgers. They have a great organization, and they're doing everything within the rules. And I'm thinking, so why did you have to say that? Because to me, like if you wanted to say, hey, it's not broken, we have rules, everybody's following the rules, that would have been it. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned. We're always looking at ways to improve baseball. But then to specifically go to the Dodgers and say, oh, and by the way, they're doing everything they're supposed to do. They're good. There's no problem there and everything. It's
all is well. Remain calm.
He's got his finger. He's got his fingers in the dam right now. I'm telling you. Because when the fans start coming out like that, now you got a problem.
Absolutely, because then there's also that umpire that got fired because his friend his gambling accounts, and for all intents and purposes, I think it's true because he was one of the best umpires in the game. Like he would always call a really good game. But
he's actually had perfect game. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
the perfect the golden boy of Ohtani. His friend bet on his accounts and spent $16 million of his own money without his knowledge. But everything's fine. Everything's fine there.
When you're that rich, you don't hire accountants that control your money and keep track of. Hey, why is there so much money coming out of your account, Ohtani?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that was all. I mean, it's over and done with. That he got sentenced today for almost 57 months.
57 months. Yeah.
Well, I will say this, Michael, and on your behalf. The Yankees are no longer Darth Vader. They're no longer the Joker. They're no longer the villain. The Dodgers have taken it over.
But you know why fans are mad though? This whole offseason, who's been making all the moves?
Yeah.
The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets. And so
Yeah.
all the others, I mean, other teams have been making kind of moves, but they're not making. Oh my God, we just got what's his
one
name?
move. One move.
So when you're sitting at home and you're like going, okay, the winter meeting's coming. All right, nothing. All right, and then you just keep going, and it's like that's why fans are upset because they see the large market teams gobbling up all the talent.
You got to put that up.
Kylo Ren. So if you don't know, if there's no Star Wars, Kylo Ren is kind of the whiny grandson of Darth Vader.
You know, he was born in San Diego.
Kylo Ren?
The actor.
Good one,
Adam
Michael.
Driver?
Good one.
Adam Driver?
Yeah. But so anyway, Kyle Ren. No, it's just when you're sitting, you're sitting here and you go, the whole Sasaki thing where we were sitting there. I'd be on Twitter, okay, Twitter, but then when they announced the final three, and we talked about it last week, I went, he's going to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was like, oh, okay. A lot of people were pissed. I was like, nah, there was a handshake deal long ago.
When everybody's saying, even was it Dallas Keuchel who was there on the team in Japan, was like, yeah, they were saying it was already a handshake deal that he was going to the Dodgers.
It was and then people said, well, Major League Baseball investigated. I go, how do you investigate a handshake deal when there's no paper trail?
And I'm not trying to put sour grapes on it. I'm really not.
Sure.
The serious side of this international agreement we have needs to be looked at, because nobody should be able to get a pitcher of his quality for $6 million or $10 million or whatever it is. That's just, got to go through the free agent process, because, and again, the Dodgers would get him anyway, and they'd pay him like they did Yamamoto, $300 million for 7 years or whatever. But at least they have to pay him. You don't get to get him for pennies. And at least it's another little pittance out of their pocket that goes to the league money drawer. But
but what they
those are the things to me that are broken. Because I won't agree. I won't disagree. The Dodgers are not doing anything against the rules. It just, to me, even more exasperates how the rules are set up for big market teams and big money owners. That's
but it's like they have to approve that kind of stuff, right? Because like the Padres have went and signed some really big international people, with handshake agreements, this one, I think it would be better if he was just like, I'm going to the Dodgers, like not have the whole pomp and circumstance.
The whole,
he
probably would have said that if the rumor of the handshake deal didn't come out. If that wouldn't have come out,
probably.
He I'm going to go. I mean, why drag these teams?
Well, a couple of Padres who were at that dinner even said it's like, he's going to the Dodgers, like they knew.
Manny's like, I think he had his mind made up.
He was, and that's fine. Again, I am agreeing with you, Jack. I mean, I think you're right. It's like, why did you do this? Just you made it sour grapes when it didn't have to be. Just be a big boy.
You got to
just say, I'm going to the Dodgers.
Or it was very similar, not exactly similar, but it had similar feels as LeBron James, The Decision.
Oh yeah,
special. Where it was like, what team am I gonna do? And it's just like, dude, like, don't put fan bases through that. Just pick your damn team.
Well, he basically told Cleveland you'll go F themselves. On live TV, I'm like, that was brutal.
And where I'll give him credit is he went back to Cleveland and won them a championship, right? So that to me, like, okay, you're
talking about to me my least favorite athlete of all time.
Fine. Well, it's just fine. But what I give him credit for is he went back to his hometown and brought them the championship.
I don't give him credit. I don't give him credit. We're getting into basketball, but he destroyed the sport by doing the super team thing, where it's like no longer the owners or the teams. It was the players that said, I want to play with this guy.
Yeah, and
look what it's done to the NBA. Yeah. Viewership is going down the toilet.
The point thing too is annoying.
Well, on Loud Outs too, when they're going back and forth, the guy said what I've been saying and what a lot of us have been saying: the Dodgers getting Sasaki hurt baseball because they already had the Japanese market.
Yeah,
with Ohtani and Yamamoto, and now they just got, instead of someone else getting in there and saying, okay, hey, let's get this top prospect. Maybe he could be a star, and it would help. Say the Padres could help Toronto, could help.
Yeah.
Well,
Toronto's who I feel bad for in this situation.
They can't get anybody.
They're the bright. Again, to be fair, if I'm a player, from a financial standpoint, why would I go to Toronto and be taxed there, taxed here, taxed? I mean,
could you do the thing that some player like Michael King was talking about, how since his residence is in Florida, the way that contract's structured, he actually has to pay less in taxes because it's not, most of that pay is not his actual. It's like the bonus or whatever.
It depends. So I'm not an expert. Michael probably is, but from what I understand, you have to pay taxes in every state that you play in. So when you're playing a game, you have to pay state taxes to that particular state. But your federal is based on what state you're based in.
Yeah,
that's my understanding.
Yeah, because you have to pay when you go to Arizona. You got to pay taxes in Arizona.
There you go.
So Michael, am I right? It's the federal has to be at the home state that they live in, and the state is paid every place they play. You can give us a yes or no.
I know it. I know it's every state they play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know my brother went to different states and he had to pay state taxes at different places because that's where his work was that day.
But I've heard people that say, "Well, why would you? I don't want to go to Toronto because I don't want to pay more in taxes." That's what they say. So I just going with what the players say.
I got one right. Yay!
Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, it is what it is.
For all that extra money, the international money, and they didn't get to sign them. They had to take that contract.
But I wonder, to your point, though, Jack, it kind of enters my mind is how many agents are using Scott Boros? How many agents are using Toronto to just up the price of their player?
I know.
Like shop them to Toronto because Toronto is just, they're just driving up the price. And then you go, oh, yeah, kind of like the Sasaki name. We're not really coming your way, but could you just give us a price of what you would be willing to pay? And then we're going to go to wherever we're going to go. So, yeah.
Well, if you remember back in Jay, you probably don't remember this because you weren't born, but back when free agent first started, Ray Kroc would go after, he was a Padre owner, would go after boom, boom, boom. And they were like Reggie Jackson. Catfish Hunter and all these and that they eventually the agents were using Ray Kroc to jack up the price on the Yankees.
Yeah.
So we're second. We were the Toronto Blue Jays back in the 70s because we wouldn't get Reggie Jackson. I mean, imagine Reggie Jackson playing for the Padres with Dave Winfield and all the other players we had at the time.
Well, it's kind of equivalent to what Boros is doing with a lot of these sports writers and using them as a springboard to get their.
That's the thing I hate is like he has John Heyman.
Of course, they all like to deny it, but you come on.
But it's so obvious.
It's so obvious, man.
So like when John Heyman,
it's like Passan and what's the bow tie guy Rosenthal.
Rosenthal.
If you can't tell me that the Dodgers aren't feeding them so much crap.
And Rosenthal, he's knee deep in it.
He's a hit.
Rosenthal said to me. But see, when you open yourself up to Canadian taxes too, plus the Canadian dollar exchange rates makes things even more expensive.
Yeah,
we're the Canadian. Yeah, I have some Canadian friends. The exchange rate is terrible too. But
but you get free healthcare.
Hey, exactly. You don't go bankrupt if you get cancer. But I just had a friend call me.
Well, that way you don't have to give your own shot to yourself when you get sick. Down in Dominican Republic. Like one of our players
you just get hair cream and then you get
just give me some gel and I'll rub it on it and
Anyway,
it's gone.
It's gone, and wow, look at that.
Have you seen a photo of Campusano?
Yeah, he's looking jacked.
He is jacked, man.
Yeah. He needed to lose a little bit of weight because as a catcher. But the thing is though, that off season for the catchers, that they've got to be just like scarfing just to keep their weight. So because I remember, I can't remember what catcher it was. It was a good catcher back in like the 80s and 90s, and they would say it's like, I lose like 15 pounds every game.
Yeah,
I just like an enormous amount of weight they lose just in one game
especially back east when it's hot.
Oh yeah, you go St. Louis and it's 120 on the field. Yeah. But no, it's good to see. Yeah, I think we're all rooting for Campusano. Because to me, if he could buy us a couple of years, man, if he could just buy us a couple of years, that's all I want. Just give me a couple of good solid years till Salas gets here, and we'll be good.
What about him playing a little first base?
I don't know the answer to that. Every time somebody says that, though, Jack, I think back to the movie Moneyball, and when they ask what was his name, his real name. Anyway, they asked the guy that Chris, who's the actor?
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, thank you. Yeah. And they ask him, it's like, can you play first base? Play first base, and I've never played first base. And Billy Bean says, well, it's incredible. It's easy. And Ron Washington, who is played by the actor, says it's incredibly hard. And I always think about that anytime we start saying, "Hey, let's let him play first base." No, it's incredibly hard.
We have a rise.
I tried to play first base in softball, and it is incredibly hard. Your footwork is invaluable. You've got to be able to.
I didn't like it.
Man,
I didn't like it.
It is a tough position. Yeah.
The player that he portrays is Scott Hatterberg.
Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I always laugh at that line because Ron Washington, because he got the toothpick there, and he's like, "Yeah, it's incredibly hard."
I remember when the Padres put Gene Richards at first base. I go, dude can't play the outfield. How are we going to play? Why are we putting him at first base?
Yeah. But he was so fast. He was so fast. He didn't need to take a throw. He just went out and grabbed it for the shortstop and ran back to first. Yeah.
Yeah. Gene Richards was a DH playing defense, and you also had Jerry Turner, who was a DH playing defense. I mean, they were both.
We had a lot. We had a lot of those, and they weren't even good. They weren't even good DHs, Jack. So
yeah, I was at a game one time, and Richards was in center, Turner was in left. They go for the ball and they run into each other.
Oh, Lord.
Ball rolls all the way to the wall inside the park home run. I can't remember who hit it, but I'm like going, why do I? And I was like 16, 17. I go, why do I come to these games?
Those are legends in the Padre history, Jack. Yeah. those are legends. Yeah.
We retired their numbers, right? I think we retired their numbers.
Gene Richards was a good hitter.
Yeah, he was a slap hitter, and he had speed. Yeah.
I think he was number 19, wasn't he?
I don't remember that one. I don't know that one.
17 or 19.
Yeah,
and Jerry Turner still holds the record for Padres for most pinch hit home runs in a season.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Jerry Turner.
Oh. Yeah.
Cool.
Because everyone said we got to have him start every day.
Kurt
Fivacqua should be playing every day.
Oh gosh,
Gene Locklear, pinch hitter that was
Gene Locklear,
Sweeney or something.
Oh,
who?
Sweeney. What was our Sween dog? What was our pinch hitter?
Mark Sweeney.
Mark Sweeney.
Yeah.
Wasn't another guy that the '98 season? Who was our pinch hitter that?
Oh, Leyritz. Jim Leyritz.
Well, Leyritz hit those home runs in the postseason.
Yeah, but he was our DH during that series. Him and Bavacqua. No. Was another one, Kurt Bavacqua. One of the funniest lines that I've ever heard is when they talked about Kurt Bavacqua, and they were talking to Tommy Lasorda, and he says, "What do you think about Kurt Bavacqua?" And he says, "Kurt Bavacqua is the kind of player that I'll send the limo for to get into the game."
He said when he was pitching. When I was pitching, I'd send a guy like that. I'd send a limo to make sure he showed up for the game because there was a war going on between.
Yeah, Kurt Bavacqua got it under Lasorda's skin, but I have to give Lasorda credit for that one. He came back and said, "Yeah, we used to send the limo to that guy." Yeah.
Just go on YouTube and put Lasorda's rant on Bavacqua. It's pretty good. Yeah. It's pretty good.
He's a Dodger, so you have to hate him. But I love they've had him mic'd up like when he goes out to like pull a pitcher or whatever, and he's just cursing.
You see the one where it was Doug Rao? I think it was Doug Rao. His World Series against the Yankees, and he goes out to pull him out, and he's like, I can't say what he was saying, but it was like F-bomb S ... and people on Twitter, Dodger fans, saying, "Oh, he was a jerk." I go, "He's the manager," and the pitchers argue with him. I'd be the same way.
As far as I can remember, he is the last manager that I can remember that would actually go coach third base.
Yeah.
He would actually go out and coach third base.
He was famous for it.
Yeah.
Is he the last one?
As far as I can remember, I can't remember any other manager doing it hardly ever. But he was just old school, and he was like typical Dodger. Okay.
Well, that's nice, Jesse.
Yeah. Well. See you later, Jesse.
You gotta love Dodger fans.
Yeah.
And elites.
And what's funny is here we're talking about sort of in a positive way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that was old school because
who Tom Lasorda is.
Yeah, but that's old school because now you got what about they did the Padres coaching staff. It's unbelievable how many coaches and assistant coaches and hitting coaches and fielding coaches. It's like a 25-man squad. And I'm thinking, man, These guys, if you wanted to go, rattle somebody's cages 50 years ago, you had a coach and a third base coach and a first base coach. As far as I know, that was all you had. You didn't have all this other stuff. That's how far it's gone. So, yeah.
Let's see. No joke. My uncle drove a limo for a living and drove the O'Malleys and Lasorda when they were in New York City.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And Lasorda was cussing at the limo driver the whole way, right?
Oh my goodness.
Let's say, I hated the Dodgers, but I gotta have some respect for Lasorda.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like got a lot of respect for him.
He was good. He was good for the game.
He was.
Well, and the thing is that you have to admire about his time is every year was a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Every year, 1-year contract, 1-year contract, 1-year contract. Look, we can get all philosophical, but if you ask me what's wrong with the game of baseball is the 7-year, 8-year guaranteed money contracts in general. And I'm not going to one player over another. It's just in general. My brother, he's not much for team sports. That's one of the reasons he says it's like, I like golf and I'm not a good golfer. But what I like about golf is each and every tournament you have to go earn your money. Now, that's somewhat true because if you're good enough, you start getting sponsorships
sure.
and TV con and all that. But the bottom line is for you to keep earning that money, you have to keep winning,
Sure.
And that to me is inherently what's wrong with any job. Imagine any of us in our work time getting an 8-year contract and we already get the big money. So what's that going to do? Okay, well, that's great for my security.
Right.
Oh, you know what? For the next 8 years, I don't have to worry. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, okay, I'll do what I have to and everything. And guess what? In 4 years, if you're not doing a good job, you're thinking your lucky stars that you got 4 more years in your contract.
Yeah.
In 4 years, if you're doing your job exceedingly well, you're going to the guy and saying, "Hey, we need to do an extension here because you know what? I'm killing it." That's what's wrong with long-term contracts. And that get off my podium here, but it does annoy me that you can just go out and skate for whatever. I mean,
we had a reliever that had 1 year left on his contract. He was making almost $19.5 million.
Yeah.
And he wanted to save himself to get a long-term contract, so he wasn't going to risk getting hurt.
Exactly,
and he cost us a chance at the playoffs. So. Again,
it does go either way, but what's wild to me about the Hader thing is he sucked for Houston, right? He blew the playoff series against the Detroit Tigers, but you had a great closer that won you playoff games, and then he left, and he said them signing Hader is what broke their relationship.
Yeah.
That signing is wild to me. Like, he was a cancer for us, but clearly he's been a cancer for Houston because you pushed out your franchise closer for someone who's not as good because he can't, close the damn games.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think the Padres, and maybe I'm biased. Obviously, I'm doing a Padre podcast, so I'm a little bit biased. But year in and year out, the one thing that I feel like the Padres are always strong at is a bullpen. They just always, and again, I think that's Preller. I really do. I'm going to give credit to Preller. As you guys know, this time last year, I was basically putting an edict out there that says if they don't win it all this year, I think Preller needs to go. And when we got past the All-Star break, I definitely changed my mind and said, you know what? This is the best job he's done. He's earned another year. I'm here to say it's the same thing. He's a great scout. There's no doubt about it. The guy has an eye for talent. And what's happening now may be his fault, and it may be ownership's fault. I'm not in the clubhouse. I'm not in the general manager's office, and I'm definitely not in the CEO office. I don't know who's causing the standstill here. But I think the TV deal going south didn't help. And I think that the fact that I think no matter what people say, Peter Seidler was digging us in a little bit of a hole by being so aggressive. Sure. I think I wasn't there, but I get this feeling that he really was pushing Preller to put money out there and just say whatever it takes. And the fact that they had to take a $50 million loan last year kind of proves that point. They obviously were not set up for the long term.
Well, they weren't. Again, you said it. That the TV contract is $60 million. Well, they had to borrow money because they don't have that money. And what kills me about Major League Baseball, they're talking about some streaming service in 2028 that's going to solve all the problems.
What do you do as a team until 2028?
I go. But what do we? How do you help the small market teams that don't have that lost all the? I mean, a couple have gotten deals since.
Like short-term deals, yeah,
short-term deals. It's like, okay, but we need income.
But the one thing I will say to that, though, Jack, that is where I will go to ownership. I will definitely go to ownership and say, you got to make a deal on your own. Then, you got to find a way. Come in. That's your job. Your job as an owner is to go out and say, I got to find us a TV call. I don't care if it's top line. You're not going to get the Dodger deal. You're not going to get a Yankee deal, but you got to go get something.
Yeah.
And you got to
$30 million
because I'm here to tell you, to me, that's another reason why the Padres became popular, because they had their own channel. They were on every night. You've got a great broadcasting team. You're selling the product day in, day out. And if you just go to MLB and you get some, byproduct of that, it's not yours, and you're not making any money.
Well, on MLB, we get Grant and
but you don't get. I don't think they get the advertising dollars and all that kind of stuff. That's where they make their money. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree 100%.
They should just bring back Channel 4 or whatever. Like,
I love that.
It's been what 2 years.
Yeah.
What are we 2.5 years?
Do something, and I think that's where a lot of fans have angst. It's like, okay, whoa, my DVD deal got canceled. Well, then go get another one.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't get 60 million. Maybe you only get 20 million. Whatever it is, at least go get something.
Anything,
because I think fans are saying the same that you like to say, Jack. They're filling the stadium. Okay. Well, I don't think they're doing that. I don't think that makes them an owner, because a lot of these fans think that, well, because I'm buying seats, I have a say in what the Padres should do. No, you're there for entertainment. You're paying your dollars for it. That's fine. Be a fan, but you're not running this club.
They're not running it,
and it's not our job to tell them how to run their club.
But we do have. It's like a restaurant that serves crappy food. We have the option to say, okay, I'm not going there anymore. I used to like
exactly.
But
it's true. But the thing that kind of go ahead. Sorry.
If the team is terrible and you're not making moves to appease me, I'm going to go. You know what? I'll go spend my money somewhere else. It's not cheap. It's not cheap to go to this game. It's expensive.
But I think that's the thing that's kind of is fresh. Well, the owner's in an advantageous position in that sense, because like a restaurant, they're going to go out of business if you don't have people coming in to buy the food.
Yeah.
A baseball team will not go out of business.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, they'll just move.
Exactly. They'll look at the poor Oakland fans, where and that's where
crappy
it's just
product, and yet we're going to move.
Exactly. And now we move. Now we're going to start spending money, the most money we've ever spent in the history of the franchise, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, like it's a crappy product, or relatively. They've had decades of futility practically. And it's a great historical franchise. But they haven't done anything with it. And it doesn't matter. The owner still makes money, even if it sucks and he doesn't sell it out. He still makes money.
And the sad thing is, they have a lot of young talent.
Absolutely,
I mean, they have some really good young players. They have the Rookie of the Year, but they have some really good young talent, and they're not putting. I mean, they signed Tommy Pham today.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
But the thing is that you've been there. Like, it's not sold out, but that owner still makes millions of dollars. He makes a profit,
well,
and then
just the appreciation of the club is
alone.
Every time you hear about one of these owners, they bought it back in 2002, and they're selling it now, and they bought it for $850 million, and now they're going to sell it for $3 billion.
Exactly.
So it's how the rich get richer, and we can't fix that. We can't. And you're right. But you know what, Jack? I gave up on the fans. I wish there was a way I could mind meld with all the fans and say, hey, everybody stay away one day. Because I remember back in the 82 strike thinking that, like, okay, people, send a message. Don't show up the first week of the season. Just don't show up. Everybody sold out. sold out
But
because you know what? We missed a half a year of baseball. I'm ready for it to come back again.
Right, and that's the thing, and that's the advantage. That's why I would if I had the money, I would buy a sports team because it's just there's something in the fabric of our being that we just are connected to this thing, and we like love it in a way that just doesn't make any sense logically, but it's something that's important to us. It's like in the fabric of who you are as a person, and
also
and they take advantage of it. I feel like at times.
Also,
to a certain extent, yeah.
I mean, look at football. There's a lot of bad owners in football.
Absolutely,
they all make tons of money. I mean, all the teams are worth like $5 billion now.
Yeah.
And there's some bad owners, but they still make money. But real quick, they talk about salary cap and a floor. I've talked about this before. You do the floor, but if you say you're like Tampa Bay, and you can compete and finish above 5, you can compete. You shouldn't be punished. But I think there should be some kind of penalty if you're like the Pirates and you go 5 years without finishing over 500.
Agreed.
Well, then you lose some of the shared money.
Yeah. I think that's what they were going to do.
I think
that's why they finally.
I think I brought it up last week, Jack, and I know it's too late for it, but that's why I said the Premier Soccer League's got it right.
Yes, I love relegation.
I mean, you get regulated out if you don't win a certain amount of games, and you get regulated in. If you've won, if you're in the top 4, you replace the bottom 4. I know baseball is never going to go that way. It's not going to happen. But you're right, and I don't know how much of this is going to be coming around because the last strike we had in 94 and 85 was based on this very same subject.
Yeah,
and they couldn't do it. They couldn't get it through. Yeah,
no,
because the players won't take it. Yeah.
No, we talked about last week. I don't want a lockout. I don't want baseball to stop.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it always comes back to, like you said, we're gonna do that, and what happens? Nothing happens. We lose baseball when we lost half a season. We lost this, that, and what happens? Same thing happens. The big market teams continue to spend, and the small market team. I mean, they tried collusion, that didn't work either.
Well, and I do wonder though, because again, inherently you wonder with the Dodgers in this particular case putting together the perceived super team, all-star at every position, so much so that they're trading away what few guys that were on the fringe. To other teams. They let a reliever go that had a 1.79 ERA. That's how tough it is. Yeah. And I'll vary a little bit. I always wonder what the guys in the farm system of the Dodgers right now are thinking. It's like, I'll never get to play there. I gotta come on. They signed everybody to these multi-year contracts. Where am I going to fit in? Yep. But I just don't think that the players are ever going to let that happen, and so it's never going to get so. How do you fix it? And I agree with you. The floor, I don't think the floor is ever going to work, and I don't think that as Michael says, taking away the shared money for any reason, even if you're bad, is only going to make it worse because now you're going to have 25 teams that are actually trying to do anything, and the other 5 are just say, "Well, you're not going to give me any money."
I'm saying I get, but you have to have something where, again, I don't expect the Pirates, the Reds, to spend $300 million, but I do expect them to. I mean, the Reds have started spending money.
Yeah.
But the Pirates, like I said, who'd they cut last year? That first baseman.
Oh yeah, with like 2 at bats away from getting a $200,000 bonus.
Yeah, it's like, come on. I mean,
the Marlins cut Berger for the same reason. Same thing. Yeah, 4 at bats away. Yeah, look. We can philosophically sit here and go round and round and round. I think we truly would love to have a fair system because, I brought this up, I think, and if I didn't, I apologize for repeating. Imagine, I love playing fantasy baseball. I love playing fantasy football. And imagine yourself going to a league where the average salary, that you get to use is, $1,000. And you're like, okay, everybody's got $1,000. And here comes Jack walking in and says, oh, by the way, guys, I run this league. I get $5,000.
I would join that.
But I think that everything will come out fair, because I'm just going to go pick out these guys, and I'll probably overpay them too. But I'm going to go get these 5 or 6 guys, and when I get down to $1,000, you guys join in. Because I think that's the current state of baseball right now.
Yeah.
That's to me the simple explanation of that's what baseball is right now. You got some teams that have got $5,000 and some that got $3,000, and then all the rest of us got $1,000. And then everybody says, "Oh, you're just crying because you're not running your organization nearly as well as mine."
Yeah, exactly.
You're not nearly as smart as we are. You know,
but you know
it's resources. It's total resources.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what Dodger fans said for the longest time? They said, they would go out and sign players, but they also said, "But look at our farm system.
Yeah,
with homegrown players, they don't have that anymore."
Yeah.
Their team, they don't even I was telling this Dodger fan, I said, "You don't even make the playoffs last season if you're relying on homegrown players."
Yeah.
I
want to know how these homegrown players are so good, by the way. Now that you mentioned that, Jack, I did mean to bring that up. Why is it that the Dodgers have got like 12 guys on the top 100, but yet we never see any of them?
No.
If they're that good, then why'd you have to go sign all these other guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their players get overrated all. Like Gavin Lux is supposed to be the next great thing.
When's the last guy? Will Smith? Gavin Lux.
But that's been that way.
A couple of pitchers that have blown out their arms, and that's no fault of theirs. But, now I'm not trying to make the Padres out like they're any better because our one product is Jackson Merrill.
Yeah.
We traded for Tatis before, he played in our minor leagues. But our farm system's no thing. But I'm just, we got 12 guys that are sitting in the minors right now. I don't, whatever.
All right, well, let's get to our final thoughts here. Next week is pitchers and catchers.
Tuesdays is the reporting day. Wednesdays, pitchers and catchers. Infielders come in. I believe it's the 17th, and the first spring training game I believe is like the 22nd.
Can't wait for baseball. And we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have some
in any form or shape. You know what? I'm still going to enjoy watching my Padres. I'll hold my nose when they play the Dodgers. Those 13 or whatever games we play them.
Yep.
And I still believe in this team. I'm still going to have fun no matter what.
Yeah.
I hope for a repeat of last year, albeit maybe a different inning. But I think this is an exciting team to watch. I really do think that. I hope we get another pitcher. That would be nice. And I hope we get a quality first baseman and a quality left fielder. But you know what? Even as it stands right now, I'm wrapped up and ready to go.
What about JD Martinez out there? No.
He just signed a pickleball contract. Like he's out. He's done. All right. Well, Jack, any final thoughts from you?
No, that was my final thought, but you guys shut it down.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Hold on.
No more old guys. No more old guys.
Here we go. I got one for you.
That's gonna be my name now. I'm gonna come on. No more old guys.
No more old guys. Got enough here on this show. We don't need any more. All right. On that.
What about you, Jay? What about you, Jay?
I'm along for the ride. I'm just happy
for the ride. Well, it's good having you back this week. I was tired of talking to Jay.
What a cop out.
That's me. That's Mr. Cop Out. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out tonight. If you'd like to join us, we do these Thursday nights at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 5:15 Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you all next time. Hasta luego. And
bye, guys.